From coast to coast to coast, Canadians are struggling. We're struggling both with a pandemic that has cost far too many people their lives and with an economy in deep trouble. These two crises have hit working Canadians very hard. Lives and livelihoods have been lost. Despite this all, Canadians are persevering as we know they can. Through adversity, they're getting the job done. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the Liberal government. The most important role the feds have is to procure vaccines, and sadly, they're failing. Canada is falling behind scores of countries in getting COVID-19 vaccines. We are standing north of 50. There are probably 50 countries ahead of us for vaccine procurement and for its use. Israel's vaccinated about 80% of its population. United Kingdom, more than 25%. United States has vaccinated more than 17%. In fact, I saw a stat the other day that said there were more people vaccinated in the United States in just one day than there has been in Canada, period. In Canada, we're looking at a vaccination rate of about 3.60, according to Bloomberg News. We're behind Greece, Chile, Morocco, Portugal, the Maldives, Serbia, and many, many other countries. For everyday Canadians, failure to procure vaccines will mean Canadians will continue to be at risk and be under lockdown. And the lockdown will take place for a longer time. Now, these lockdowns have real world consequences. I recently called a friend at a seniors facility near Toronto. He's forbidden from leaving his room. He told me, it feels like I'm in a jail cell. Obviously, without enough people vaccinated, we'll also be late to reopen our economy. And while scores of other countries will reopen, we'll still be locked down with our businesses shuttered. And that's a true tragedy, Madam Speaker. This failure will have a significant impact on jobs and Canadian businesses. It certainly already has. Being left behind is the last thing that struggling Canadians need. And workers are in a very dark place. It's especially true in my home province of Alberta. In addition to facing the pandemic and its economic consequences, Albertans are facing a federal government hostile to our number one industry, an industry that creates thousands of good paying jobs right across Canada. That's what I think a lot of Canadians really should realize. The oil and gas industry is not all about Alberta, it's about all of Canada. It's a vital industry to Canada. Now, during the 2009 global recession, it was the energy industry that helped Canada weather the storm. Because of the energy industry, Canada had the strongest economy in the G7 through that global recession. But this Liberal government has squandered that national asset. Through misgovernment and hostile legislation, they've attacked the golden goose that laid the golden egg. Take, for example, the Liberal government's recent lackluster response to the Americans scrapping the Keystone XL pipeline. Back in June 2018, the United States under President Donald Trump placed tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. Canada quickly responded with measures of our own. Canada took action to protect its vital economic interest. We did that despite that at the time we knew that it was a campaign promise from President Trump. And back then, the then foreign minister said, the United States has taken the absurd decision to harm its own people at a time when its economy is suffering. Now, that was a reasonable approach, and we need that same reasonable approach with Keystone XL for Canada's largest export industry. In 2019, our energy exports were valued at more than $134 billion. Just let that sink in for a bit. Think what that money can buy. $134 billion. And think how much worse off we'll be when we don't have that money. Instead, Canada's current foreign minister said that we should understand and respect the decision on Keystone XL. The Prime Minister only said he was disappointed. That's not the type of response they gave when manufacturers were under threat from tariffs during NAFTA negotiations. Why is the energy industry treated differently? During the NAFTA renegotiations, we took a Team Canada approach in defense of Canada's vital national interests. Canadian government officials and politicians, including myself, went to Washington and lobbied key American stakeholders. And we went and talked to Democrats and Republicans and everybody we could talk to. Yet today, when another vital industry is under threat, all we hear are crickets from this Liberal government. We've actually heard more from American politicians and union officials in support of Keystone XL than from our own government. On January 21st, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters said, the Teamsters strongly oppose yesterday's decision, and we would urge the administration to reconsider it. This executive order doesn't just affect us, Teamsters, it hurts our Canadian brothers and sisters as well, who work on this project. It will reduce good-paying union jobs, allow workers to provide a middle-class standard of living to their families. America needs access to various forms of energy that can see its economy running in the years ahead and keep it running. This decision will hurt that effort, that union official said. And Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas called out the Biden administration cancellation of the Keystone XL pipeline, saying, the Biden administration is already killing jobs in Arkansas in the middle of a pandemic to appease far-left environmental groups. This isn't what America needs right now. This is a vital Canadian interest. Where's Canada's response? This lack of leadership has real-world impact. Recently, the Calgary Herald ran a story about Muhammad Ali, who's got the same name as the famous boxer. But Muhammad is a proud Calgarian, as he should be. Calgary is a fantastic city. It's the second biggest city in Alberta, second best, actually. He's currently finishing his business degree at the University of Calgary, where he's majoring in supply management. Muhammad hoped once he graduated, he'd be able to find a career in the energy industry in Alberta. But now he's forced to leave the province for the USA. He said, I would have really loved to have stayed in Alberta, especially Calgary. It's a really great place to live. And I was looking forward to maybe working in the energy industry here. Unfortunately, those hopes have been dashed. As Muhammad put it, there just seems to be so much more opportunity for me in the US. Now, Muhammad is just one of many young Western Canadians who are finding their career prospects leading them south of the border. Despite having one of the largest oil deposits in the world, the neglect and outright hostility of the Liberal government has shown to our energy industry that it's seen its investment and jobs go elsewhere. At a time when it's essential to begin the process to rebuild our economy, seeing stories like Muhammad's is really, really disappointing. I wish him all the best. He seems like a talented and hardworking young man, and I'm sure he's going to be a real asset wherever he goes. But the fact that he must leave, despite wanting to stay, is a huge loss to our communities. Last year, we've seen the largest deficit in Canadian history, $331 billion. We're going to need the skills and hard work of people like Muhammad here in Canada to help us pay off the enormous debt the Liberals have racked up. That's why we need the federal government to end their hostility to the energy industry, Canada's golden goose. Stop exporting good Canadian jobs and facilitate the export of Canadian energy. We need to get Canada working.